Hey everybody, so I'm going to be showing you how to change your draft into your final. So you need a pencil, a ruler, and a piece of paper. If you have a sketchbook, that's awesome. If you're using computer paper, that's fine too. If all you have is lined paper, that also works. Whatever paper you have available will be totally fine. So my sketchbook paper is a 9x12, which is what I asked for you to have in your project. But like I said, if that isn't what you have available, that is totally fine. This is normally the size we would be working with in my art room. So that's what I have available. So you're gonna take your final piece and your ruler, and we're gonna divide our paper into a grid. So this grid can help you when you transfer your design from your draft into your final paper, but it's also useful when you go to do your background design in your project. You'll have that already ready to go. So if you have a 9x12 paper, you can divide your paper into, it'll be 3 sections across the top and bottom, and then 4 sections along the side. So it's really nice and easy if you have a 9x12, because you can just break everything down into 3 times and 4 times. So I'm actually going to use the outer edge of my ruler to measure. So I'm at the 9 here because I know my shorter end is 9 out of my 9x12. So I'm going to, and I know I want to come in for a 3" by 3" square, so 3 by 3. So if I divide 9, then cutting that into thirds, taking 3 away will be 6. So I'm just going to add a mark above my 6th line, and then I'm going to come in 1, 2, 3 and do a mark above my 3 line. I'm not really worried about this side because this is where the perforations are for my sketchbook. So I'm going to keep that same idea. I'm going to do the same thing to the top. So I'm going to move my ruler to the top of my paper. Put that out of the way. And I'm going to look for the measurement for my 9, and I'm going to make a mark at my 6 and at my 3. So then I can come in, use my ruler lengthwise, and just draw a line from top to bottom. So you want to go all the way down to the edge of your paper. So you want your picture to go from edge to edge. Oops, it's a little light, but that's okay. Let me just draw back over it. Okay. So now I have my paper divided into 3 sections, and now I want to do my horizontal lines across. So it's the same process, but now my ruler is going to go this direction. So this is a 12" paper, and then I can divide that into 3s as well. That is also divisible by 3. So I'm going to add a mark at my 3" line, my 6" line, and my 9" line this time. I'm going to do the same thing to this side. You don't have to bring it all the way to the edge. You actually want to give yourself some room so you don't get stuck. 3, 6, and 9. I always liked the 3 times tables when I was in school because it's easy to count. All right. Then you just line up your ruler with the marks that you make and just draw a line at each spot. If you end up doing it a little bit crooked, that is a-okay. If you have a paper that is smaller than 9x12, this will be a little more challenging because it's less equal. You are welcome to try and figure out the math for how to divide that into, what do we have, 12 boxes. You can try that. Otherwise, if you just divide your paper into 12 boxes and they look pretty close to even, that's okay too. You don't need to stress yourself up about making it perfect. Okay, so this is your grid. So once you have your grid, you're good to start adding in your design. So you can look at your draft. This is my draft that I had a picture of in the assignment in the last part 2. So I'm going to use this. This is a interesting point because if you had sections on your draft that you want to change, this is the time to do that. So you can move things into a different place on your final paper if you don't want them in your draft anymore. So I'm going to do my larger shape first, so that's my N. So I know that my N kind of starts in this crosshairs up here. So I can take my pencil and just do a really rough drawing. If it's not, it does not have to be perfect. This is part of the fun of learning art. Okay, so this kind of comes in this way and creates like a parallel line shape. If you have your fonts that you use to do your style out and available, I suggest doing that. Right now I'm kind of freehanding this and messing it up terribly. Oh my god, this is awful. So I'm actually going to just use my artistic ability and change my design a little bit. That's okay. So I want my end to come down here. I have a little serif at the end, I know that. It's okay if it comes on a little rough. You can always go back in and make your adjustments later. So I'm actually just going to end up making a copy of the top part here and just do it that way, and that works. It's still a serif N. So this would be our, in our font styles, this would be our Roman style because it has the serifs on either side. I'm just making a connection there. I'll bring this one down. If your picture goes off the edge, that is okay. It's part of the design. Here's the fits. Alright, so now I have my N. I don't really want this line here. There's that. Okay. There's my N. Then I have, I'm going to do my E next because that's over here. So at this point my design is completely different than what I drew on my paper. That is fine. That is part of the fun of doing art, is trial and error and all that. So if your letters go off the edge, that's cool. That actually creates a really neat dynamic. I'm going to swing this around here, and this comes to a point. So in your design, remember you want to have 5 to 7 letters, numbers, or characters, and you want a representation of each of those font styles. So you want Roman, poster, script, and unusual. We're not going to do trademark because they're trademarked and you are not allowed to use those. Okay, do my money symbol here. This is my script one. This one's always fun to try and do. Okay. And voila. So you can either use your grid as a guide to help you, or you can just go for it, whatever you want to do. I'm pretty much just going for it because my N wasn't working how I wanted to do it anyway, so I'm putting things in a similar spot, but they're overlapping a little bit more than I had here. So I actually had more space on this one. So I'm going to do my number 2, which kind of looks like an S, but it is what it is. 2. So now I have 4 items so far, so I'm almost done with my design. When you overlap, do that. There we go. And I have one more, and actually on my other example that I did, I actually added another symbol, so I'm actually going to add that into this one. Okay, so I have my poster, my Roman, my script, my unusual. Okay, and then I actually added in this funky looking @ symbol, which I really enjoyed because it's fun to draw. And then we came down here and tapered off. So overlapping, it is behind the 1. I can actually just draw that in and make it part of the design. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now I have 6 designs in here. I have all 4 of my font patterns. So now I'm ready to do my coloring. So for coloring, you can do any coloring you want. One thing I asked for you to do is to think about emphasis. So emphasis is something that first catches your eye, whether it is a color or the fact that my N is the largest piece on here. It's something that stands out. So how can you manipulate your items to make something stand out? So a suggestion is, if you want to do like a color group, pick the brightest color as your emphasis. That's usually what works. If you end up wanting to do more darker colors, the brightest color of that arrangement would end up being one. Or you could do a contrast where you have darker colors and then one light color, something like that. So all of your letter shapes are going to be in color, and then your background spaces are going to be black and white. So I'm giving you a Zentangle worksheet. So Zentangles are types of patterns. Those of you who had me in 4th and 5th grade may have had them with me, maybe middle school too, where they are just doodles. So pretty much like my tablecloth under here is a bunch of doodles. So it's pretty much just doodling on things. Fibonacci spiral. Yeah, so Zentangles can be just patterns of lines and colors, although in this particular case it's going to be in black and white. So I actually made another example just to show you what that looks like. Okay. So here is my example. I ended up using purple as my N to be my emphasis. And then I slowly realized as I was doing it that my number 2 orange actually stands out more. I tried to do warm colors for the other ones to make the N stand out more, but it didn't quite work, and that happens, and that's okay. You have an area of emphasis, and that's what you need. So the 2 becomes my new area of emphasis versus the N. So I use different colors. You can look at how the shapes are all a different variation. If you want to do 2 colors per letter, you can do that. If you want to break them up into even more sections, you're welcome to add more lines zigzagging everywhere. However you want to do that is fine. Just remember that all of your letter forms are going to be in color, and then any leftover space is going to be done in black and white. So all of these patterns are available to you in our in the project document assignment. So you can use marker, color pencil, crayon. If you have special drawing pens, you can use those. If you're someone who's doing it digitally, it's a little bit more tricky to try it, but you can, for example, if you're lucky enough to have Photoshop or a photo editing kind of thing, they have brushes, or Autodesk is a free program you can use that has different types of brushes, and those brushes can give you these kind of effects as well. So you might have to work on it, but definitely pen, pencil, colored pencil, those kind of things would be your easiest one. So I did mine in my color and marker, and then I have different size drawing pens to do my Zentangle parts. Okay. So I am available if you have any questions, especially on what kind of materials you want to use, because I know not everyone has everything. So if you have questions on what you can use for your project, please shoot me an email and let me know, or a private comment, and I look forward to what you create. It's been fun.